It's the Defiant Ones here backstage at historic Washington Hall, the debut of MASHA SLAMOVICH. What's going on? How you doing?
Doing pretty well, enjoying Seattle. Very excited for my DEFY debut. It's been a long time in the making, and the day has finally arrived.
Absolutely. So, welcome to Seattle. What do you think so far? You like this? You like the vibe of the city?
Oh, I love the vibe. I love
Awesome.
it because it's summertime, because I thought to myself, man, this must be awful when it's cold.
Yes.
But it's so nice. And of course, you know, it had to be the basic white girl, go find the first Starbucks, of course.
Yep.
Got the Heritage Creamsicle frap. Loved it. Loved it.
Nice. So home base for you is Queens?
Well, these days I live in New York City.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you growing up in Moscow, Russia, what was your first view of wrestling? Like, how much, did you know about wrestling, and when do you remember as a child, like, seeing wrestling?
So I would go back and forth between the States and Russia all the time.
Okay.
And I remember, like, when I was in the States, I was just flipping the channels one day. I think it was, like, from, whatever karate or something that I was doing as a kid. I was, like, 4 years old at the time. So I was like, my mom's watching the news. And then, like, I saw wrestling. I don't remember the match, but I remember seeing Friday Night SmackDown, like, with the fists and all that. Yep. And I thought it was so cool. And I, kept watching it, and, like, there was just something about it that I was like, this is what I want to do. Because, as a young kid, everyone's like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And, I think that's like a real dumb question to ask a child who's like fucking 4 or 5 years old.
I want to be a Power Ranger.
Yeah, like, what am I going to, like, first of all, even at that age, I was like, okay, you'd be like a doctor and a nurse and a cop. And I was like, that all sounds mundane and boring.
Yeah.
A. B, I don't even know the other professions that are out there, and they all sound lame as fuck.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I want to be a superhero.
Right? Yeah, well, I thought boxing first, and then I saw wrestling, and I was like, oh shit, I can get paid to beat people up and travel the world. Yep. I was like, sign me up.
That's amazing. Who was your first favorite?
Definitely The Undertaker.
Nice.
He was like, on TV at the time, and then when I started digging deeper and, like, watching more, I was exposed to Chris Benoit, who was one of my favorites, and then that led me to discovering the Dynamite Kid, who is my all-time favorite. I thought he was, like, the coolest, like, the innovator, so intense and snappy, you know what I mean? And, like, that really got me down the rabbit hole of, like, digging up old wrestling, finding indies, other promotions aside from WWE, stuff like that.
We just had the Billington Bulldogs here. Have you had a chance to meet those guys? That's Tom Billington, the Dynamite Kid's sons. Have you
I have not. I didn't meet them, but I am, like, friends with their whole family on Facebook, so we're like aware of each other.
Sure.
But we just keep, like, almost missing each other.
Yeah.
They're like, I was in Alberta and they had just left, and, like, I guess they were here and now I'm here. Just tailing each other.
So you got really heavily into wrestling. Like, how nerdy did you get with it? Did you play with the wrestling figures? Did you play the video games? Did you collect the DVDs, stuff like that?
I collected a bunch of magazines. I was really into, like, the old Pro Wrestling Weeklies and, like, all the stuff that I could find at, like, the local pharmacy where my dad worked.
Yep.
And I did have some figures. My Russian parents thought video games brainwashed kids and, like, I shouldn't play those, but They let me watch it because they knew I was, like, so obsessed with it. Yeah. And they thought I'd grow out of it, but clearly that was not the case.
Clearly you did not. Would you wrestle people around in the neighborhood? Would you, practice as a little kid wrestling?
Oh, yeah. Me and my cousins were, like, always fighting and trying to, like, tap each other out, and everyone thought we were, like, completely out of control and insane. They're like, why are you destroying the house? Why y'all just won't go fucking play on the jungle gyms? I'm like, no, what about this Batista bomb? Like...
That's amazing. Okay, so we're talking with MASHA SLAMOVICH here on the Defiant Ones, and we'll be back with her origin story of how she got started wrestling, how she got involved with Impact, and so much more here on the Defiant Ones. Commercial here.
Yes.
Then we'll come back. And we're back with MASHA SLAMOVICH here on the Defiant Ones. It's her first time here in Seattle, so everyone welcome MASHA SLAMOVICH here on the Defiant Ones. We have an awesome community here called the Defiants. We all welcome like newcomers, and we're so stoked to see you tonight against one of the best here at Defy, Nicole Matthews. So it's going to be an amazing match, I have no doubt. How did you get started with wrestling? Did you And how did you hear about a place to train?
I remember being 16 years old and being like, not getting any younger, so I better start now before
Like,
before
I'm an
I
old
fucking
timer.
age
I'm
out of this,
16.
right? So I, much like anyone else, just Googled wrestling schools in New York because that's where I was at the time. I had to pretty much decide like if I was going to stay in Russia and pursue a career in equestrian sport or wrestle.
Yeah.
Clearly, I chose wrestling, so then I kind of more permanently went to the United States, and I literally Googled schools in New York, found House of Glory, which I had attended like their indie shows a couple of years prior in like 2012, 2011. But like then like right under there was listed Johnny Rod's, and I don't know what it was, but like I just kind of looked at this like old outdated website.
Yeah.
And fucking dialed up the number, and like there was Johnny Rod's on the phone with me, and he was like, "I'm not talking to you, bring your parents." And then we came in and he talked my mom's ear off for 5 literal hours. And she was like, "I'm ready to sign fucking anything for this man to stop talking." So she was like, "Here, you can wrestle." And just, that was the end of it. She just dropped me off there and she was like, "Have at it."
And there's a lot of legends that have been trained at Johnny Rod's, right? Wasn't one the Dudleys? Didn't they train there?
Yes, the Dudleys, Tommy Dreamer, Taz, Bill DeMont, like so many other people. Cass, he's currently, I believe.
Wow.
I don't know what name he's under, but he's with AEW.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I knew all of these people that he had trained, and I knew that, if all these people managed to succeed, seems like he's doing something right, and it seemed to be a good place because it wasn't like one of those like 6-month programs. It was like a lifetime membership. You could come train at any time, which I took full advantage of, and I wrestled anywhere from 5 to 7 days a week. Like I would come straight from high school every Saturday. I would be there from 9 to 6, just fully committed to training, and I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to be the best.
Straight from high school. That's crazy. So what did your friends think in high school of you being a wrestler at that time? Were they surprised?
I mean, they all were like, "Oh, it's fake, right?" And I was still in school and still competitively on the swim and track team, so I was like juggling a lot. And everyone just was like, she's fucking doing that pro wrestling shit. And they all kind of thought it was crap until now, and they're like, wait, she's actually doing it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, so when was your first match? Do you remember?
Yeah, so my first match was, I believe, on July 8th of 2016 over in Japan for Reina Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
Because from being at Johnny Rod's, we had a lot of scouts coming in from Mexico and Japan at the time, and they scouted me. They wanted me to come over and do a tour to train with 01, do some shows with Reina and a couple other companies that they sent me out to. So I graduated, turned 18, and like a few days later found myself in Tokyo.
Your first match is in Japan. That's incredible. Yes. Wow.
It's really, really awesome. Like completely surreal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So would you say that like Japan for you now is like a home base?
100%.
Yeah.
I started my career there, my first 5 matches, and every time since that I've come back there, it's always been like coming home for me.
That's amazing. Do you love, being there, the culture and everything? Is like,
oh, I love everything about Japan. Like the food, the culture. I couldn't name one bad thing. Even when I lived all of 2020 over there, like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Like it was a completely different experience than everyone else was having. Like Australia, Canada, the United States, completely different. And like if I had never had my little like visa issue that I had, I would have just never come back. I would have lived in Japan forever.
Yeah. So take me back to that then. 2020, were you stuck in Japan? Is that why you were lived there, or did you choose to live there for a year?
So it like was sounding like I could get stuck there, and I was like, man, I don't give a shit. I'm not leaving anyways.
Yeah.
They were like, do you want to go home? I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So they wanted me to originally stay and train longer anyways, because Chigusa wanted to like keep working, and she thought she saw something in me, so she wanted to sharpen my skills, and of course I said yes.
Yeah.
But then like, the shutdown happened. They're like, do you want to go home? I was like, no, I want to live here permanently.
Yeah.
Like, can we please do that? And every time my visa would run out, we'd just go renew it.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, I'll stay here as long as it takes. Just I had zero plans of leaving. I came with one bag for 3 months, and I was just like, I'll start a new life here.
That's so cool. Wow. What a year, right? Yeah.
It was completely wild, but it was probably one of the best years of my life, actually.
If people are unfamiliar with your work in Japan, what are a couple matches that you would say, kind of highlight some of your favorite moments wrestling in Japan? Is there anything that we could look on YouTube?
Perhaps. I'll have to see if some of these matches are up, and they're all like typed in Japanese, so you have to like find the weird links for it. But if you find the Marvelous YouTube page, then I'm sure some of the matches are listed that we had, like me and Meiko Satomura teamed against Ryu Mizunami and Kaoru. That was from Sendai Girls. That was a really cool match that is up on YouTube, as well as me versus Mei Hoshizuki from Sendai Girls, and me and Mio Momono from Marvelous. And honestly, anything you just find on there.
Yeah.
Even if anyone looks deep enough and finds the fitness videos that we used to do, like literally dancing to these fucking workout videos and being like, 1 stretch, 2 stretch, like that's all on the Marvelous page if you look deep enough.
That's funny. So is there a difference of intensity in working and training in a Japanese dojo versus training in America?
100%. I think there's a level of like commitment and self-discipline that perhaps is lacking in the United States, because living in the Marvelous dojo, like these girls would come in and move out of their home and like quit going to school at 15 and just be shipped off here and like do the young girl thing, and wrestling would be your life. And that's something that like we really don't have in America. We don't have a real dojo, and like I don't even know how it's legally possible. We can't really like take kids out of school here.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like,
but that's what they do.
It's just the mindset, and like if you've ever seen the Gaia Girls documentary,
I've seen that.
It's like
amazing.
that. You know what I mean? Like that's the level of commitment that you have to pro wrestling, and I got to live through that, and that's like what I wanted. I wanted to go through that because I think it sharpens everybody up, and I think it's a real, a barrier between like who takes it as a joke and who takes it seriously, and who's really gonna make it in this business.
Awesome. So, what brought you to Impact?
So I had one run-in with Impact prior to the pandemic in June of 2019. I had attended a seminar in like Canada when I was on tour over there, and then somehow that like someone heard that I lived in New York, and long story short, they asked me to show up and do like an enhancement match with Havoc. And the next night, they called me back to do a singles match with Jordan Grace, funny enough, for Explosion. And then, pandemic happened. I left the country. And then after doing Empower, Mickie James brought me over to Impact for the Pick Your Poison match against Diana at Knockouts Knockdown of 2021. And there was zero plans for me to be signed. But apparently, while we were doing the match, the whole locker room and like a bunch of people from the office were watching the match, and they were like, we need to go out there and sign her now. And they pressured Scott to send Gail out and just offer me a contract, which was like completely surreal. It was insane. And I said yes. And then, the rest is history.
How did that feel to have a legend like Gail Kim offering you a contract to wrestle, in America? That's totally
crazy. Like, you see that stuff happen, but you never think like, I'm going to be the next one. Mm-hmm. So like when she just invited me back into the ring, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, what? Is this punked?
She was like, yeah, we're offering a contract. I was just like beside myself. It was crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
Like top craziest moments. Like I got backstage, the camera's in my face and stuff. I'm like, dude. I was like, when the bell rang, I was already in my head so proud of the match. I was like, we fucking killed it. And like to layer that on top of it, man, insane. That's
awesome. So just a bit about you, if and this is just kind of a fun question just to get to know you, like, if money wasn't an issue and you could pick any musician, band, artist to play you to the ring doing a custom theme song, who would you pick?
That is a wild question. Gosh. it could go so many different ways here, you know what I mean? It's like pick one from every genre or something. But I mean, if there was like really, if I could just pick anyone, I guess it would be Kiss. Like,
Kiss, yeah.
Kiss is just so fucking rad.
Yeah.
There's no way that they wouldn't kill it. They'd come up with something insane.
Yes, absolutely. Kiss playing Masha Slamovich out to the ring. That would be amazing. That's awesome. What do your parents think? You know, what do your parents think of you being a wrestler? They thought that you would get out of the just a phase as a kid. What do they think of you as a wrestler now?
Man, they were so convinced it was a phase, and I kept trying to tell them that it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at first they were obviously like, what the fuck is this? And they had seen like, you know, some of those like training matches, and I'm sure they were fucking horrendous. So they were all like, man, when are you going to get a real job? And after I just kind of like fucked off in the middle of a global pandemic, and then came back and started running through the indies and like got signed, and they saw that I was like super busy all the time and actually making money.
Yep.
They're so proud and they're so happy because they're like, you're successful and you're happy and you're living your dreams. Like, what more could a parent want?
Yeah.
And I think one of the coolest moments was when I won the GCW title, and like my parents came in the ring with me, and then my mom told me afterwards, she's like, I understand why you do it now, because she was like, I felt how those people like love you, and like the crowd reaction. She was like, I've never felt that energy before, and it was just really cool for her to be like, yeah, I get it. Like,
that's awesome. That's incredible. What a moment to share with your parents. Wow.
Right. It was like, that night was like the picture perfect night in wrestling. Like, story could not have ended or begun better.
That's amazing. So, you know, you have so much in front of you. You know, you're signed with Impact. You wrestle in Japan. You know, killing it at GCW. You're here at Defy. What are your goals, you know, in the next year or so?
I think a lot of people are always like thrown off when I say that I don't have any, and I never really did. Like, you know, of course there was like go wrestle in Japan and like do this and that, but I have always been a big believer in just like following your journey, because it's going to take you where you need to go, and just like work hard. And you know what I mean? Like, if you put everything that you have into this, like, something is bound to come out of it. Like, you shine a light into a diamond, and it reflects all these different rays in so many different directions. So it's like, what are my goals? Half the stuff that I've done in my career is completely unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would have never been like, yeah, I'm going to be one of the first women to come back to PWG, or like you do Empower and stuff like that, because it's almost like I don't want to be so bold and be like, I'm going to do it, because then when I do it, it's like such a shock and a surprise, and it's just like these awesome moments just keep happening to me. I would never be able to predict. Like, if you ask me what's going to happen in a year, I have no fucking clue. Like, some crazy shit that I've never even imagined is probably going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm just here for the ride, and I just want to keep having banger after banger, best fucking matches, 5-star matches every night, everywhere I go. And that'll take me into the fucking sky.
Hell yeah. All right, Masha, one last question for you. Pick a scar on your body. Show us if you can, but at least tell us the story of how you got that scar. It does not have to be wrestling related.
Well, all the scars on my face heal incredibly well, so you can't see any of them. I don't know. I have like fucking seal skin, but I do have this one scar on my back. I will have to like maneuver around, and it's like the only deathmatch scar that I have, because once again, I don't have many, but if you can see it like across my back there on this side.
Oh yeah.
That was from a match that I had with John Wayne Murdoch. And I just remember it was just literally one little light tube across my back, and I was just like, great. Like, I just felt it leaking, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. And that's my literal one scar. I think I have like a couple more, maybe like on my elbows and stuff, but all the fucking death matches I've done, I've like not been really scarred.
Wow.
I've evaded that. It's just that one.
What's your mindset when you go into a death match?
I don't know. It's just like, when you do a death match, everything is so crisp and focused, and like the air is chilled, and you can like smell the iron out of the blood, and it's like, it just turns me into this like next fucking gear where I'm like rabid, and I'm just not even thinking about it. I'm just like, do this, do this, do this, like just go for it. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. People ask me like, why do you do it? You don't need to be doing this. I'm like, because I fucking love it. Like, it just makes me feel good. You know, I do a lot of things in wrestling because they have to be done, but also at the end of the day, like, I'm here to enjoy this. Like, this is all I've ever wanted to do in my life. So deathmatch is a part of that, and I'm going to keep doing it until I can't anymore.
Oh, man. I love it. MASHA SLAMOVICH, thank you so much for taking the time here, the Defiant Ones, and any final words for the Defiants?
I'm looking forward to my debut, and I certainly hope to come back and keep kicking ass and be in Seattle again because I love it here.
Right on. It's the Defiant Ones here.